The airline's boardroom was quiet, heavy with concern. Marcus Rodriguez, the chief operations officer, spread Jennifer's file across the mahogany table. 12 years of perfect service, now reduced to a tragedy. "We can't abandon her," Marcus said, his voice soft but firm. "Jennifer Matthews was more than just a pilot. She was our pride." Sarah Chen, her former co-pilot, nodded. She had been the first to find Jennifer, wandering near the airport fence, talking to imaginary control towers. The woman who once navigated complex international routes now struggled to understand her own reality. They agreed to help her to investigate in order to recover all her losses because of her faithfulness and good conduct in the company. The investigation into Christian Anderson was like chasing smoke and nothing to catch. Every digital trail vanished. Every bank record became a dead end. It was as if he had never existed. "He's done this before," whispered Elena Martinez from legal. "We've found similar cases. Jennifer isn't his first victim." The airline assembled a team. Lawyers, investigators, and even a private detective worked together. They traced bank transfers, examined fake corporate documents, and followed every tiny lead. Christian's world was a complex web of lies. Fake offices, rented apartments, shell companies that disappeared as quickly as they were created. He was a ghost, moving through financial systems without leaving a mark. "How did he do this?" Sarah asked, looking at the mountains of paperwork. The answer was simple and terrifying. He was a professional and international fraudster. Each lie was carefully crafted. Each document looked perfect. Jennifer, with her trust in the aviation world, had been the perfect target. Because she felt that everybody is from Philippine, that is worthy to be trusted. The decision to help Jennifer wasn't just about justice, it was about family. In the airline's eyes, their employees were more than workers, they were a community. "We need to get her help," Marcus told the board. "Professional help." They contacted Mercy General Hospital's psychiatric wing. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a specialist in trauma recovery, would lead Jennifer's treatment. "She's not just a patient," Dr. Rodriguez explained. "She's a professional who has been deeply hurt. Her recovery needs to respect her dignity." Jennifer arrived at the hospital confused and scared. The clean white walls were different from the airport structures where she had been sleeping. Nurses spoke softly, treating her with respect. Dr. Rodriguez knew healing would be slow. Jennifer's mind had created a complex world to protect herself from pain. Breaking through those walls would take time, patience, and understanding with care. "Tell me about flying," Dr. Rodriguez would say during their sessions. Not to challenge Jennifer's memories, but to connect with her true self. "Flying. You mean flying. Okay, but do you see my wings fly? Well, Christian has taken the hands that I use to fly. You see, flying is when you have wings. You can fly from the mountain to the valley. Ha ha ha. Do you know the funny part of flying? You can fly from that mountain to the sea, like I'm flying now. Mr. Man, can you see me now? I'm flying in the sea now. Ooh, sharks go out of my way. Let me pass. I hate being in traffic." "It's well, my dear," said Dr. Rodriguez. "You are the best pilot so far. Don't worry, you will be fine." The first weeks were hard. Jennifer would alternate between moments of clarity and deep confusion. Some weeks later, she drew a perfect flight plan. Other days, she would cry, calling for Christian to return her plane. The hospital staff learned her language. When she talked about flight coordinates, they listened. When she mentioned pre-flight checks and pressed the invisible buttons, they understood it was her way of feeling safe. Slowly, carefully, they began to rebuild her sense of self. With medication, understanding, and caring. Month 2 brought small changes. Jennifer started recognizing her colleagues who visited. She began to understand that Christian was not coming back. Sarah would bring old photographs from their flying days. Pictures of Jennifer commanding massive aircraft, her uniform crisp, her smile confident. "Remember this flight to London?" Sarah would ask. And sometimes, just sometimes, Jennifer would remember. By the 3rd month, real healing began. Jennifer started talking about her feelings. She can now communicate with the nurses and the people around the hospital. She can now tell reasonable stories and can reply to any question that anyone can ask. The 5th month was a turning point. Jennifer looked different. Her eyes were clearer. Her hands no longer shook when she talked about flying. "I want to understand what happened," she told Dr. Rodriguez. "I want to be strong again. I don't even know how I got myself into this place. Why is my life like this? What is wrong with me? Can someone please tell me what I went through?" The sterile hospital room felt suffocating. Dr. Rodriguez sat beside Jennifer, his hands clasped together, his eyes filled with a mixture of professional concern and genuine compassion. Jennifer's trembling fingers gripped the edge of her hospital blanket, her knuckles turning white with tension. "I need to know everything," she whispered, her voice a fragile thread of determination. Dr. Rodriguez took a deep breath. The truth was like a sharp blade, and he knew each word would cut into her already wounded spirit. "Christian Anderson was not who you thought he was," he began softly. "He was a professional fraudster who specifically targeted successful professionals like yourself." Jennifer's eyes, once bright with the confidence of a seasoned pilot, now looked hollow. She listened, her body rigid, as Dr. Rodriguez explained the intricate web of deception Christian had spun. He detailed how Christian had systematically manipulated her finances. Her investment portfolios, carefully built over years of hard work, had been emptied. Her properties, the houses she had purchased in different cities, her carefully curated real estate investments, were now under different ownership. He used sophisticated financial fraud techniques, Dr. Rodriguez explained: forged documents, fake corporate entities, complex money laundering schemes. Your trust became his weapon to manipulate your life entirely. Jennifer's mind reeled. Each word felt like a hammer blow, shattering the last remnants of her previous life. When the full extent of her loss became clear, Jennifer's composure crumbled. Her wails echoed through the hospital corridors, a sound of pure, primal grief. She wasn't just mourning money or properties, she was mourning her identity, her sense of self, her entire understanding of trust and love. From a pilot commanding massive aircraft to "this kind of mess," she whispered, looking at her hands. How did this happen? The trajectory of her life played in her mind like a horrifying movie. At 85%, she had been Jennifer Matthews, respected pilot, successful investor, confident professional. Now she was hovering at 0.01%. Vulnerable, betrayed, stripped of everything. The days following that conversation were a blur of emotional darkness. Jennifer would stare out the hospital window, watching the world move on while her life had been completely destroyed. Her colleagues tried to support her. Sarah would visit, bringing photographs, trying to remind her of her strength. Marcus Rodriguez from the airline continued to ensure her medical treatments were covered. But nothing could fill the void Christian had created. The thought of suicide became a constant companion. Not a fleeting moment of despair, but a calculated consideration. She would reply to her life, measuring her current state against her past achievements. "I would rather die in one of my houses," she would mutter to herself, "than to die on the streets like this." Her spirit felt shattered. The peace she once knew seemed like a distant dream, replaced by an overwhelming sense of agony and betrayal. It wasn't just about the financial devastation. Jennifer had lost more than money. She had lost her professional identity, her confidence, her belief in human connections. The houses she had meticulously chosen, the cars she had loved, the investments she had carefully nurtured, all gone, replaced by a stark, excruciating, painful emptiness. A year passed. The vibrant, confident pilot was now a shadow of her former self. Jennifer moved into a small, dingy apartment, a stark contrast to the luxurious properties she once owned. Her days were filled with a mix of remembrance and despair. She would look at old photographs, trace her fingers over images of herself in her crisp pilot's uniform, and wonder how life could be so cruel. Each morning was a battle. Paying rent became a struggle. The simplest tasks felt monumental. The woman who once navigated complex international routes now found navigating daily life overwhelmingly difficult. "What is sweet in this world?" she would ask the emptiness of her small room. "Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean nothing at all." Her spirit, once soaring like the aircraft she used to pilot, now felt grounded, broken, defeated. Jennifer's reflections became her only companion. She would sit by her small window, watching the world outside, feeling completely disconnected from the life she once knew. The memories of her properties haunted her. The house in the suburbs with its perfectly manicured garden, the city apartment with its panoramic view, the beachside property she had dreamed of retiring in. All gone, stolen, erased. Her emotional landscape was a terrain of continuous grief. Some days anger would surge through her, anger at Christian, at herself for trusting him so completely. Other days a numbing sadness would consume her, leaving her feeling hollow and empty. The medical and legal support she had initially received slowly diminished. The initial shock of her story had faded. She was now just another victim, another statistic in a world that quickly moves on. She said to herself with tears in her eyes, "I must find a way to die in my house in Singapore by all means, because that is the house I built with my first money." So she decided to go and meet the bank manager, because she was a good customer and a friend to him. A day came, and she decided to go, so she went to the bank. Into the bank manager's office, nobody recognized her at the bank, even the bank manager. So she introduces herself to the bank manager as Miss Jennifer Matthew. A very big silent, shocking and tears in the bank manager's office. "Please, my dear, tell me who laid you into this. Why didn't you investigate before investing such a huge amount of money?" "Well, the did has been done." "Well, you are welcome. Sit down, please," the bank manager said. "Why are you here? How may I help you?" Jennifer knelt before him and said, "I know what I want to tell you may not sound logical to you, but please help me out. Because this is the only thing that can put a smile on my face again in this world. I'm running into depression this while. Nothing can give me joy and happiness anymore in this world, except only one favor from you." The bank manager replied, "Please tell me, I will give you all my support." Jennifer said to him, "Please, I want to see my house in Singapore. Please let me just stare at it and be happy again forever. Because that is the first house I built with the first money I made in this world. Please help me." The bank manager replied to her, "Please, my dear, if this is the only thing that will restore your happiness, we'll take you there by the weekend." Not knowing what she has said in her mind, "I must find a way to die in my house in Singapore by all means, because it is the first house I built with my first money, is better for me to die in one of the things I labored for than to die miserably by the roadside." The days leading to the weekend were a hurricane of emotions for Jennifer. Each moment felt like a carefully choreographed goodbye. She packed a small bag, more like a collection of memories than travel essentials. An old pilot's logbook, a faded photograph of her first aircraft, a simple black dress. Her tiny apartment seemed to watch her, silent and heavy with unspoken grief. "This is my final journey," she whispered to herself. The words hung in the air, charged with a mixture of desperation and a strange sense of calm. The bank manager didn't know her true intentions. His kindness was a bridge to her final destination. Each step was calculated, each moment planned with a precision that once made her an exceptional pilot. She smiled, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Their journey to the airport went successfully. Jennifer looked around the airport, shook her head. She said with a small voice in her mind, "This will be my last appearance in this airport. It's time to take off, please. Everyone should put on a seatbelt." The flight to Singapore was a journey through her memories. Jennifer sat quietly, her eyes fixed on the window. The clouds below reminded her of the countless routes she had navigated, routes that now seemed like a distant dream. The bank manager sat beside her, occasionally making small talk. He saw a broken woman seeking closure. He had no idea of the storm brewing inside her. Jennifer's mind drifted to her flying days, the perfect landings, the complex international routes, the respect she commanded. Now she was a passenger, controlled, directed, stripped of her previous power. "Are you okay?" the bank manager asked. The city was a maze of memories. Each street, each building seemed to whisper her past. Jennifer walked with a mixture of anticipation and deep, consuming grief. Her house, the one place that represented her first true success. When they approached the house, Jennifer's breath caught in her throat. It was different, yet the same. The architecture she had carefully chosen. The garden she had designed. Everything spoke of her past life. The bank manager watched her, concerned by her intense reaction. Walking through the rooms was like walking through her own memory museum. Each corner held a story, each wall remembered her dreams. The living room where she had planned her future. The study where she had made her first major investment. The bedroom where she had dreamed of success. Jennifer knew exactly what she wanted. This house would be her final chapter, her ultimate statement. A place where her story would end on her own terms. The bank manager remained oblivious, thinking he was helping her find closure. As evening approached, Jennifer stood by the window. The Singapore skyline stretched before her, beautiful, indifferent. "Thank you," she said to the bank manager. Her voice was calm, too calm. He didn't understand the weight behind those words. Her mind was made up. This house, her first true achievement, would be her final resting place, not a place of defeat, but a place of her choosing. The bank manager saw gratitude. Jennifer saw liberation. The night settled over Singapore. Jennifer looked at her reflection, no longer a pilot, no longer a victim, just a woman about to make her final decision. Jennifer moved through the house like a ghost, her fingers tracing every surface. Each wall held a memory. Each room whispered a story of her past life. The marble floors she had chosen, the paintings she had carefully selected, the windows that once framed her dreams. Her touch was gentle, reverent. A farewell to everything she had built. The house stood 12 stories tall, a monument to her success, now becoming a witness to her ultimate despair. Each step she took was measured, deliberate, the precision of a pilot making her final descent. The bank manager followed her, watching her with growing concern. Something in her movements felt different, heavy, final. The top-floor balcony offered a panoramic view of Singapore. The city sparkled below, a world of endless possibilities that now felt completely closed to her. Jennifer walked to the edge, her movements calm, too calm. She turned to the bank manager. Her eyes, once bright with the confidence of a pilot, now held a mixture of gratitude and absolute resolution. "I wish you well," she said softly. Her words carried a weight that transcended ordinary farewell. "May heaven and earth, ghosts and humanity, light and darkness, moon and sun, come to your rescue whenever you are in difficulties," she continued. The words sounded like both a blessing and a prophecy. Then her voice changed. A raw, primal anger erupted. "Christian," she shouted to the sky, "may it never be well with you in this world. Christian, it can never be well with you in this world." After that, she jumped out from the top last floor of the balcony. As she was falling, she called Christian and started laying causes on him and all his entire generation as she was falling down. In those final moments, her mind raced. Memories flashed, her first flight, her successful investments, the moment Christian betrayed her, the day she lost everything. She fell, her body breaking the silent Singapore evening. Her curse continued, words tumbling out faster than her physical descent. "May your generation suffer. May your blood never know peace. May everything you touch turn to destruction." When she hit the ground, the world went silent. Her body broke into pieces, a final tragic statement of her complete destruction. The bank manager's scream echoed through the evening. But Jennifer Matthews was already gone. She had chosen her ending. On her terms, in her house, the first property she had ever owned. The bank manager shouted, cried, but her cry could not help Jennifer. She has gone. Gone forever. The news of Jennifer's tragic end spread quickly. Her colleagues at the airline were devastated. Sarah Chen, her former co-pilot, collapsed when she heard the news. Marcus Rodriguez from the airline operations felt a deep sense of guilt, believing they could have done more to protect her. The investigative team that had been working on Jennifer's case redoubled their efforts to track down Christian Anderson. His web of fraud had not just stolen money, it had destroyed a life. Jennifer was more than a victim. She was a respected pilot, a professional who had dedicated her life to her career. At the hospital where Jennifer had been treated, Dr. Rodriguez sat in his office, tears silently rolling down his cheeks. He had tried so hard to help her rebuild her life, to give her hope. But the damage Christian had done was too deep, too profound. The police and the airline's legal team began a comprehensive investigation into Christian Anderson. They were determined to ensure he would never hurt another person the way he had hurt Jennifer. Investigators discovered a pattern. Christian had a history of targeting successful professionals, pilots, doctors, engineers. He would carefully study their backgrounds, build elaborate trust networks, and then systematically destroy their lives financially and emotionally. Sarah Chen became a driving force in the investigation. She spent days and nights going through every piece of evidence, every financial record. "I won't let him get away," she would tell her colleagues. "Jennifer deserves justice." A memorial service was held at the airline headquarters. Pilots from around the world came to honor Jennifer Matthews. They displayed her photographs, images of a confident woman in her crisp pilot's uniform, smiling, commanding respect. Marcus Rodriguez gave a speech that brought everyone to tears. "Jennifer was more than a pilot," he said. "She was our family. She represented the best of what we stand for: courage, professionalism, and integrity." Her colleagues shared stories, how Jennifer would always help others, how she could navigate the most challenging routes with calm and precision, how she was kind, intelligent, and respected by everyone in the aviation community. The investigation into Christian Anderson became a mission, not just for the airline, but for Jennifer's memory. Financial experts, private investigators, and law enforcement worked together. They traced his complex network of shell companies. They followed digital trails. They gathered evidence from multiple countries. Christian had been careful, but he had left traces, and now everyone was determined to find them. Sarah Chen made a personal vow. "I will make sure Christian pays for what he did," she told the investigators. "Jennifer's story will not be forgotten. Her life will not have been in vain." The story of Jennifer Matthews became a warning, a reminder of the devastating impact of financial fraud, of how trust can be weaponized, of how a person's entire life can be destroyed by a skilled manipulator. But it was also a story of resilience, of a community coming together, of a determination to seek justice and prevent such tragedies from happening again. Jennifer's legacy would not be her tragic end. It would be the changes her story would inspire, the lives that would be protected, the systems that would be strengthened to prevent such devastating fraud. Her spirit, once soaring in the skies, would continue to fly through the hope of justice, through the memories of those who loved her, through the promise that her story would help protect others. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and don't forget to comment at the comment section below. Thank you once again.